Okay, everybody. So I want to talk to you about your project for the 6 weeks. This is going to be worth a test grade. And so I want you to do a really great job on it. I happen to love this project. It's my favorite one we do all year. And so the first thing I want to introduce you to is what I call concrete vocabulary. I don't just call it that, everyone calls it that, but you may not have heard of it before. Concrete vocabulary is where we take a word and we draw the word so that it looks like what it means, okay? So the word ionic, we know that it is something that involves a metal and a non-metal. We know that it results in a positively charged cation and a negatively charged anion. We know that our metal atom is going to give electrons to the non-metal atom, and that is what results in the charge. And you are going to learn in our lab this week that ionic compounds, when dissolved in water, if they dissolve in water, will conduct electric current, so a light bulb will turn on. So I want to show you how all of that stuff is here in this concrete vocabulary word. So we have little lightning bolts. Don't laugh at my drawings. I'm not an artist. We have little lightning bolts to represent the electrical attraction between the two different ions within the compound. Over here, I've drawn my shiny metals. So I put little shine marks on them and I drew them in silver to represent the metal. Over here, I have my blue non-metal, and you'll notice that I have little electrons hopping from the metal side to the non-metal side. And you'll notice that I have a positive charge over here and a negative charge over here. So really, that's hit so much of it just in that. We've got all of this information about an ionic compound just by the way I've written the word. So let's check out another one. Here's the word cation. So remember, cations are typically formed by metals. So you'll notice that all of my letters are drawn like metals except for the T, which is drawn to look more like a plus sign because cations are positive. You'll notice that I have electrons falling off of all of my letters. And then I added some examples around the outside of different metal cations that we would form, and the little reminder with a kitty cat that it's pronounced cat and not cash. Okay? There's its partner anions. You'll notice I've got electrons coming in. I drew the A so that it looks like it has a negative in it. Okay? Notice I used my ends to write negative and non-metals. And again, I did some examples around the outside. Let's find a word that you maybe haven't heard just yet. This is another one of our vocabulary words for the unit. Okay, and you'll notice that it's broken off into pieces. They're kind of blocked out with little charges on them. And you'll notice that I broke the word down into its etymology. So we have poly, which means many, atom, which means atoms. And then we have an ion, which is atoms with a charge. So this is many atoms together in these little boxes that have a charge on the outside. So even though this is a word we don't necessarily know yet because we haven't really talked about polyatomic ions yet, this is a word that we can kind of figure out a few things about what it means based on how it is written. And that's the goal in concrete vocabulary, is to sort of communicate what the word means simply by how we draw it. So you are going to need, I'm going to zoom you out so you can see this a little better. You're going to need just a blank piece of paper. Computer paper would be great if you have it. If not, notebook paper is totally fine. What you're going to do is you're going to hold it the long way like this, and you're going to fold it long and skinny like a hot dog. Give that a nice good crease. Then you're going to kind of make a trifold out of that. And I find it works best if you sort of flip it in but don't fold it yet. Flip it in and then just kind of adjust as you flatten it. You're going to get the most even sections of 3 that way. And then you want to crease that really, really well. So now we have a nice long skinny thing with 3 sections, the top, bottom, and middle. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut just 1/2. So I want to leave the back of it as one piece, but I'm going to cut the front along those folds that I just made into flaps. So you should have 3 little flaps. The back piece is still all one piece, okay? Now, super important. You are going to glue your foldable onto page 78. You need the title, Foldable Project at the top, your name and date in the top right corner. When you submit your final project, it must be glued in like this with your name visible. You're going to take 2 pictures of your final product. One of the outside, name has to be visible. One with all the flaps open, name has to be visible. Now, do you have to do it vertically? No. If you want to do it sideways, that's fine too. But when you take your pictures, I need to be able to see your name in both of those pictures. So the last thing I want to tell you about is the requirements for your foldable. So you're going to do your foldable on the 3 types of bonding: ionic, covalent, and metallic. And I'm going to show you, this is the best example anyone ever did. I did not do this because I'm a terrible artist. This was an incredibly gifted student of mine I had a few years ago. She's amazing. So you'll notice that she did some incredible stuff with her concrete vocabulary. She did shiny metal, and then you have an electron being given over to the non-metal here. You'll notice her background for this is puzzle pieces showing the crystal lattice that ionic compounds form once they've built compounds. I like that she did puzzle pieces. I think that's a really smart idea. So you'll have a concrete vocabulary word for each of the 3 types of bonding. And then around them, you are going to give me 5 properties of compounds that contain that type of bond. So an ionic compound has a high melting point. They're hard, they're brittle. They're poor conductors as a solid, but good conductors as a liquid. They have a high boiling point. So you'll notice that she gave me a whole bunch of properties of the ionic compound. So you need 5 for each. And it goes around your concrete vocabulary word. I happen to really love her metallic bonding. I think she did a smashing job. She's got her sea of electrons in here, and then her shiny metal, and she shows that when you hit it, it dents. I just love it. I think she did a smashing job. All right, on the inside of your foldable, on the inside, you need to tell me how the bond is formed. And it can be very simple. I don't want this super wordy, all right? Give and take of electrons. Okay, so how the bond is formed. The second thing you need to tell me is what elements are involved. Third thing you need to tell me is how strong the bond is. And this can be relative to the other bonds. So this is the strongest bond, so she put very strong. Okay? Down here, you need to have at least 2 pictures that demonstrate how the bond is formed or properties of the bond, something related to the other requirements. So she showed a metal atom giving an electron to a non-metal atom, and then it forms a cation and an anion. And then she drew a picture of the ionic crystal lattice showing that it forms a crystalline solid. Okay, so you're going to do that for each of these. It needs to be appropriately colorful. Okay, don't add color just for the sake of adding color. Please add color that makes sense. She used her color here to indicate the difference between metals and non-metals. And you'll notice that that's incredibly consistent. She used the same color here for covalent because it's the same type of element. She used the same orange here that she used here. So be consistent with your coloring. Make it really meaningful what you're using color for. Okay? Same thing with your pictures and all your information. It needs to be neat and well organized and really easy to read. My favorite thing about this is just how unbelievably neat and organized it is. It looks fantastic. I love how she did little word bubbles to emphasize important points. She labeled things so that it was really easy to see what she was talking about. That's the kind of thing I want to see. So really take a minute on this. We're giving you the assignment on today, and then you've got tomorrow, and then Wednesday it will be due. So make sure that you have done your foldable project. I want you to put some real good effort into this. I want to see some really good concrete vocabulary.